But I want to share one more point about the capital gains tax. It's the first time in history, and I want people to listen and try to put this in perspective, that a government has implemented a new tax, not immediately, but put a line of 2 months out or 1 month out with the intent of rushing people to put their property on the market. Like, think about what that was. That's the first time that you've ever seen a budget come in and say, oh, this is all in effective immediately, but this tax is June 27th.
Well, going back to the government and taxes, because again, Liberal government in power in the province back in 2017, when the foreign buyer tax came in, Kathleen Wynne didn't flinch and hammered it in right away. It was the next day they turned around.
You get my point.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
there was instigating. This was an instigating move, an instigative move, I guess, to try to get people, the government, to realize some capital gains. Like, that's the whole purpose.
Which is also, let's realize too, when we talk about real estate investing, part of investing is you want to not make emotional decisions. And I think that's extremely gaslighting on the government's part to propose this, implement it, give a time frame, and what does that do? It actually causes people to make emotional decisions.
Correct.
That's to force someone to make an emotional decision on $500,000 or $1 million asset that they hold is hopefully down the road their feet will be held to the fire for this, because that is actually in any investment course, in anything they teach you, try to eliminate your emotions from that. For this government to actually put emotions at the forefront of it, and some people actually making emotional decisions, selling a home when really they didn't want to because they felt the need to because of this pressure they're under. That to me is you're really leading your people down the wrong road, and that's not right. Investment in our country should be something that we can think about, be analytical about, use proper decision making. This was not that. This was, we're going to implement this. If you want to save, or if you think you're saving money, do this. That's not how our government should be promoting people investing in our own country, and not to mention their own investment portfolios.
Well, it's interesting because when we talk about investment and we go back, to our parents, for example, they invested in the country. Sometimes they'd buy it for their children, their future. Generational wealth. Generational wealth started with, Tim, as you know this, being if you have parents that are from Greece, Italy, wherever, they came, they worked hard, they would buy maybe their kids a property, and with the intent that they're going to pass it down to them, give them something for their hard work. This in itself, when somebody turns around and says, we're just targeting the rich, and it just means you're not going to make as much, it couldn't be more insulting and, I'm going to say degrading to a certain point of Canadians that help build the country that is being led. And when you think about a big picture, it's sort of like, if we've got this mass immigration coming into the country, who in their right mind is going to want to follow the rules that this government's put in place and invest in Canada? I mean, new immigrants, why would you, when you see that they can pull the trigger at any given day and turn around and tax you more?
Again, it's a real thing that we're fielding calls more than ever of people refinancing and investing in other countries and not selling their property. So what they've tried to achieve is not going to be, fully realized, in my humble opinion. But there is also the reality of experiencing that brain drain that certain countries have experienced in the past. The Southern European countries during the 2007, 8, 9 collapse. You had a lot of migration outside of those countries, brain drain. They went all around the world to try to have a better life. I've met many people from different cultures who came to Canada at that time because of the economic crisis. And here we are now in 2024 talking about a different economic crisis. Not one that is real, but one that is manufactured with the taxation and the way people are treated if you own. If you're having an issue with people who are flipping properties, then enforce some kind of policy that captures those people and have it for somebody who owns a property under a certain amount of time, that you'll have a higher capital gain.
2 years, 5
whatever.
Years, yeah.
But I mean, the way we talk about the stress test and not having one size fits all, right? Like, I mean, come on. you have different tiers of land transfer tax. Why can't you have the same thing for them? But for somebody like anybody that you just mentioned in the show who's will come here or has always been here and has worked hard, paid taxes, and they're living for their next generation. Like, who does not have kids and does not think about their next generation? And they are buying something for them to go into and to increase it that way. Again, and forget about the emotional aspect, the economic aspect, the people who own dilapidated, garbage commercial properties that can't afford to renovate them will continue to keep them that way because of a capital gains tax that restricts them from selling. If anything, they should turn around and say, hey, if you own a property and you sell it and buy within a certain amount of time, we will allow you to not just do 50% capture, only 25% capture. Bingo. You know, and then you nurture and you inspire and you urge investment. And again, if a commercial or a bigger property is sold, it's not anymore 75 or 80,000 in spin-off business. We're talking about hundreds, if not millions of dollars of spin-off business. This government and the policies of what they call fair taxation is way off base. I believe that I've given everybody listening a better picture to fairness.
Yeah, and I would just like to let you know that myself, the simple investor, Todd C. Slater, is now endorsing Tim Syrianos.
Not a chance.
For Prime Minister.
Not a chance.
Okay.